Hello and welcome back to another video. This is your favorite YouTuber Lucky Rascal and yes I'm back. बहुत दिन बाद और I'm really excited to tell you guys कि मैं क्या कर रहा था इतने दिन से. तो कुछ टाइम से मेरा प्लान था एक पॉडकास्ट रिकॉर्ड करने का, to start a podcast, and yes I was working on that. And but yes, आज का podcast, आज का video is a podcast, and this podcast is going to be very special, and it's going to be the first episode of a brand new series that I'm starting on my channel, The Known and the Unknown with Sarthak. So yes, without any further ado, let's get straight into the podcast. Hello guys, we're back. Welcome to the new podcast. This is our today's guest. Okay, the first guest that I have on my podcast, Mr. Melvin D'souza. Melvin, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Firstly, Sarthak, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my pleasure.
So, my name is Melvin. I kind of was born in Mumbai. Now I live in Pune, work in Mumbai. And I've kind of like been through different cities and stuff like that. And currently, I just resigned as an operations manager with an oil company in Mumbai. So I used to handle shipping and operations. Apart from that, I think a lot, I write a lot, I travel a lot, I meet a lot of people, different kind of people, and try to enjoy life as much as I can.
That's wonderful, uncle. You travel a lot. I wanted to ask you, where have you traveled? How do you travel, and where have you traveled until now?
Traveling. Most people would think traveling is going from one place to another. But traveling to me is traveling through unique places, people, episodes, and especially place to place. I've practically been to almost every part of the country except for UP and Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
And then apart from that, internationally, quite a few places here and there.
So
And I think I would like to leave my job shortly and just get into writing and traveling.
That's wonderful, uncle. Most of people like us, people who are working in corporate company, they're all of them have a dream, ठीक But वही एक चीज़ है, because देखो now this the whole house is depending on a salary. अब वो दिमाग में एक initial thought process यही रहता है कि मतलब अगर job छोड़ दी तो पैसे कैसे आएंगे, how will the family survive? And that's why most of the people who are in a corporate company are afraid to leave their job at such a point where they're making a good figure. Okay, but I say people should be more like Melvin. ठीक है, follow your dreams, follow your passion. देखो मैं आपको बताता हूँ, I am a tattoo artist. ठीक है, no one, even me, I didn't expect me to become a tattoo artist. ठीक है, and that's not where I'm stopping. I want to become an animator. I want to start my own podcast, which I did. ठीक है, once you set your goals, once you get a right direction, the whole world will support you. I've got supportive parents. I have supportive friends like Melvin.
So I think all the corporate world, students, or every section of humans, they just come up with excuses. It's you're a human being. You have a mind, you have a brain, you have intelligence. So you can do a million things in one time. So if you think you're not able to do it, it's just a joke. You're just just being unlike what you need to be. So it's just a trend. Even a sloth kind of just wants to, just does a little bit of things, and that's life for it. So we can choose to be either that, or probably you can just choose to be on an escalator, which has already started probably when I was born, and it's probably going to end when I'm going to finish off. And I got to look at everything that's around. And if not, it's boring.
It is boring. If you don't follow your dreams, you're literally killing yourself while you arrive. I've seen people who've just gone under pressure and they've done things that they did not want to do, and right now they are regretting themselves. There are many people I know But yeah, he's right. You should, just follow where you want to be. Just go with the flow. That's the whole thing about it. Just go with
So
the
I'll tell
flow.
you, Sarthak, I work in a setup where we kind of do a 200 crore rupee turnover in 2 days. I handle about 400, 425 odd emails every day. I travel between two cities every weekend. And then apart from that, I do these small bike rides and stuff like that. I try and run, go for long walks, play football sometimes whenever I can. So you can do everything. I read a lot, I write a lot. So there's a lot you can do.
Would
So you
you
need to you
would you
need to
like
just come into thing. Yeah, tell me.
would you like to just tell us about what you're writing, or what you're going to publish, or what you're going to write initially?
Okay. So actually, the first urge to write came to me somewhere in September 2007 when a strange episode paused and paused my life, and it made me reflect on something. And then a couple of months later, there was a death of someone very dear, and that shattered my life and it left me in a very painful state of sorrow. And of course, that motivated me to actually get into writing. And soon it became then again there was a couple of months later, a couple of years later. Initially when I started to write, I would just write about excerpts from my life's personal experiences and all that stuff. But later on, as I moved on, I began to realize that there was no point in telling people about the incidences and episodes that had occurred in my life. And instead, I wanted my piece of work. I wanted my writing to kind of be an exclusive piece of work that would touch lives and enrich people's minds. And that's how I got into it. So, the book which I had structured will now become like a documentary. The preface starts with death. The first time I saw death was when I was 10 years old, and stuff like that. And then it takes you through an experience that I had and how I stood at the doorway of life and death, and stuff like that. So the preface kind of talks about that. Then generally I talk about a couple of other things, there's a setting which you make around and stuff like that, so people get comfortable, people feel interested and things like that. And it takes you through a series of uh, it takes you to a script through the hallways of suicide and depression, and it tells you
I'm
of
sorry,
it
suicide
talks
and
about
depression.
suicide. Yes,
You've
there are a lot of people who
experienced.
commit suicide.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people who have seen around. I've worked with people who have these suicidal tendencies and depressed, and all that kind of stuff occurs. So I've seen a lot of pain and things like that. So it talks about a lot about what suicide is, the nature of suicide, and uh, suicide is not something that you just call as something. You just can't just just go and kill yourself. It's a very precious part of your life, and you can't just throw it away. So it takes a person through a very unique reading experience there. Then it talks about, then eventually the book talks about how there's a power bigger than us, how he, how that power plays into our lives with these small episodes that kind of happens casually. It talks about how we are victims of a sequenced mind or a sequenced brain. It talks about how, though everything around us is sequenced, every action that we do is kind of sequenced, and in all this, it reveals an element that runs your life, that rules this planet, that rules this universe, and your like your scope within and beyond it. So that's what it talks about. And I'm currently working with a friend in Dubai, and who's helping me put the entire thing into a document.
So, would you like to elaborate a bit more about what do you think about suicide? Like, according to you, what suicide actually is? Like, how does a person, create the thought of suicide? Is it due to financial pressure, or due to, family issues, or due to their own personal issues, or what is it?
So, to my mind, a person who tries to kill himself does not do it out of any form of real depression or mood swings, or because they suddenly realize that the negatives of life far outweigh the positives. Instead, I see people who attempt suicide or depression as people who have been caught in a grip. Like, someone physically trapped in a quicksand, if you can visualize that. And these kind of people have very limited control, ability, and resources to escape the grip. And when the perceived agony of being ensnared in that grip or the trap or the quicksand reaches a certain unendurable level, then it destroys all sense of hope in that person's mind, and that person will commit suicide in the same manner as a trapped person would jump off from the top floor of a burning building. So,
Okay.
if you and I, yeah, if I could just continue this, so if you and I have to peep inside this person's mind who's just committed suicide and take a glimpse of the path that was voyaged through through or by his thoughts, including the emotions and feelings, of course, then it would reveal the act of suicide as something that arises from a seemingly dead-end scenario in that person's mind, with absolutely no other recourse or hope apart from taking that step. Further analysis, if you get into further analysis, so the path out is simple. Okay, you the act of committing suicide comes into your mind. The remedial strategies of has to take place in the person's mind, and that can be done externally by people around, and of course by the person himself or herself. So the pit of suicide can be bypassed. It must be
How?
bypassed. There are options.
Like, how can it be bypassed, and how one person can, just, you know better themselves, just not think about suicide but think of other options, like bettering themselves, like, yeah, suicide is not just the option, I can do much more than suicide.
So if you look at people, they have thoughts, they have emotions, they have feelings. Now, if you look into a dark room with many things inside it, your eyes can probably just look at a couple of things around. And for you, what you see, or rather in your mind, what you perceive, becomes what it is. Now, if you had to throw in some more light into your mind, like, read a lot, read different things, converse with people who are more intelligent, probably you could talk about something else. Like, I'll tell you something. If you'd have looked at me when I was 15 years old, I was so dumb. I couldn't even talk to people. I did not even have. I had this complex where I couldn't even lift up my eyes and talk to people. It was so bad. And then, in 20 years later, when I was 22, I came across a book, and that book literally opened up my mind. So there are
What book was it?
lot of. I'm sorry.
What book was it? Like, what kind of book was
The
it?
book is The Greatest Miracle in This World. It's written by an author called Og Mandino.
Oh man,
Spelled
I
as
think
OG. Yeah.
I think I've heard
I think
about
it's
it.
a very good book. Yeah. But the only thing is, I'll just tell you about the book. It's basically the initial section, and then there's a last chapter. You must read the last chapter in one go. It needs to give you goosebumps. Your hair needs to, kind of like just stand out, and you should be devastated. So through all that, you'll create a new path out of the fog. So there's a lot of knowledge around. Do you know psychology? Like, do you know human minds? Humans. You just talk, and you can talk. Like, a person can tell a lot about you. They can reveal a lot about you. The tone of the voice, the pitch, the manner in which you talk, everything reflects what you've been through, who you are, what you're going to do. So that's real. The only thing is, you just need to come across the right person who can do it. And if you leave the other person around, a person, like I'll tell you, I I believe in a concept that I am my own best friend. And in the end, I'm the only one who's going to remain with me throughout life, till the end, and probably even beyond.
this this is one thing that my mother tells me a lot. See, I am a very emotional person. ठीक है, कैसा है कि if I make someone, if I make a friend ना, तो my whole thing is I have to be with him. मेरे को उसके साथ ही रहने का है. And if he's not talking to me, if he does not, just give attention, that's one thing. People, देखो मेरा ऐसा है, when I was younger ना, when I was say 16 years old, 16 to 17 years old, I used to yearn for attention. Like I just wanted every attention on myself, like all eyes on me kind of thing. I used to do stupid things. I still do. But at that time, those stupid things, I regret them now, because they've kind of created a certain background for me that I never wanted in my life. कैसे देखो, at that time I used to speak a lot. अभी my father tells me that when you speak a lot, when you're in a group of 4 people, if you speak a lot, your opinion doesn't matter. Speak
Yeah.
when you're meant to speak, then your opinion matters.
See, the one thing is, you should remember that you are a product of 2 people coming in union, and somebody who has carried you through 9 months of pain every day of the every minute of the day after day, month after month, and 9 months later you come out as just a little baby. If you've seen a newborn picture, just here when the nurse is holding it as a baby, there are people around you who've taken efforts to get you out, and then you cannot just waste it. Life is not a dream. It's a very real and a serious game. So make no mistake, there is something out there, and I would have a very different way of saying it. Right now, I don't see life. I just see confined. I'm confined. As a person, I'm confined. My mind is confined. I am completely entrapped. I'm trapped in my body. I'm trapped by time. I'm trapped by space. If I'm here, I can't be in Bombay. I can't be in Dubai or wherever else. I'm here in front of you right now. I can't be anywhere. So I'm trapped by time. I'm trapped by events. And then I'm also trapped with the way my mind thinks. And if my mind thinks in a particular manner is taking me to a dead end, somewhere across, I'm trapped because of my own thought processes. And then suddenly, when you just go on and change a little bit of, the wiring inside here, new paths open.
See, this is one thing. This is one thing that people never talk about. ठीक है, mental health. This is one topic that I've seen that nobody has talked about it so openly. There are people, but then again, किसी की बात कोई क्यों वो लेता है, seriously क्यों लेता है कोई बात. हमारे को बचपन से बोल दिया जाता है, men can't cry. Is this the thing? I mean, we also have emotions. Is it okay to cry in front of everybody? Do you think so?
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't need to go and cry in front of somebody, but you can obviously go to a quiet place. There was one time, I told you when I was 15 years old. Okay, I'll tell you an episode. We were 4 friends walking along with our mothers, going back home after having results of SSC examination, SSC exams.
Okay.
One of my friends were very, my friends and their mothers were very happy because one of them got 87% marks, the other one got 82, the other one got 79, and along with that, my mother was also very happy. I looked at everybody's faces and compared it to hers. I mean, she was as happy as everybody else, and she was her eyes really conveyed a deep sense of appreciation to probably God for just making me pass. And that threw me apart. I was like, hey, I just got only 52% marks, not 80, whatever, just 52%. 52 in SSC.
God,
I told you I was dumb. Then. And just 52% marks, and she's so happy and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. And that evening, I went through a very profound thought process. I left home in the evening. I walked up to a mountain in Mumbai. From there, you could see the aeroplanes landing from into the runway and stuff like that. And I loved airlines. I could tell you every plane with just just looking at it, what country it was from and things like that. And that day, I cried so much. I cried so much, and there was nobody around. That was the best part about crying that day. And then, after all the tears had flown away, I picked myself up and I gave certain strictures into my life. From now on, I'm not going to waste my time from 1 hour to the next or one day to the next. I'm going to live a very meaningful life. I was dumb actually. So I actually had to get a lot of light into my life to know what all things were around, what things were around, how I could influence them, how I could shape them and things like that. So yeah, it's perfectly okay to cry, and you'll come out of it a lot more stronger, I believe.
Oh, I seriously did not know about this. I mean, I do cry. As I said, I'm an emotional person. I do cry, and I get this feeling that yeah, man, I feel way much better now. क्या होता है ना, रोने के बाद थोड़ा थॉट प्रोसेस खुल जाता है आपका.
Absolutely.
But then again, when you have so much stress in you, when you have a lot of things going in your mind, आपका जो thought process है ना, वो ब्लॉक हो जाता है. कभी आपके साथ मतलब ऐसा हुआ है, आपका कभी thought process ब्लॉक हुआ है?
Sarthak, you should understand that everybody, you don't talk about just yourself, I'll tell you, everybody you look around, the thought processes are blocked, retarded, and like I already told you, they are victims of their own thought processes. So, coming to crying, if you just carry a glass full of water to the brim, and you just see a couple of particles on them, somewhere across you're going to go, you got to take it to a basin and probably just drain off the water, and the particles move out, the floating particles move out, and then you're free of it. So in a similar way, crying is something that kind of helps you in a similar way. And of course, some people cry all the time, but let me tell you, it's just a tendency, it's just a norm, it's just you do because it's convenient to you. But sometimes you got to get in a spark out of here, a simple person out of here, and guide you through something much ahead. So you got to do that. So don't. I mean, see, today is going to get you your tomorrow. Your tomorrow is going to take you ahead. You can't be a victim of what you think is right or appropriate today. You always have to hope and try to get something which takes you beyond all these darknesses into the light. And a lot of people, they are obsessed with a lot of smaller things in life. And the moment these smaller things collapse or start dwindling away, it's over. You can't do that. You should just stand. Things around you can collapse, things around you can fall, things can break up, the world will collapse. It's okay, all okay, everything is okay. Be strong, be attentive, be standing, be awake, be alive, and chart a path out. That's how you got to go through it.
That's wonderful. That's actually देखो because ये बात अगर आप किसी और से पूछोगे like not many people again not many people talk about it, but then again अभी कुछ ऐसा होता है ना, they are like कि कुछ नहीं यार, थोड़ा मतलब बैठ के शांति से मतलब थोड़ा शांति से बैठ के सोचो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. This concept is a bit different, but yeah, I guess this will also work. Again coming back to your travels, which is the best place you've traveled until now, like the best place, any ghat anywhere?
So Sarthak, I do a lot of solo and bike rides with my friend, mostly solos. I had done a trip to Bhutan. I did a 1066 kilometer bike ride from Konasima to Pune in one day from 6 o'clock to 9 p.m. And then I came back home. I took 4 buckets of hot water bath, and then I went out with Varun for a drink. I just come into Pune on a Friday night, and I just called up my friends in the morning on Saturday. I wanted to have chai at their place, and they said they were in Goa, and they said just come. Why don't you come? And then, you know what? I actually got out of the house in an hour, took the Activa, and went all the way to Goa. I reached there in 77 and
You
a half hours.
you went to Goa on an Activa?
On the Activa, man. On the Activa.
On a
And I can't even tell you what kind of an experience it was. In the evening at about 7, I started the journey at 12 o'clock and I reached there at 7:30. And about 6:37, when you're riding through the last stretch of Savantwadi and all that, a million insects were like, right going into my eyes and my face. And the moment you put your your visor down, everything starts hitting your
Yeah.
visor, and then there's a cloud. So yeah, it was crazy, but then I did that. But yeah, the most beautiful stretch of my ride, of my bike ride, was from Pune to a place called as Dandeli, where I pitched tent in a forest area.
Dandeli again.
And
Where's Dandeli? Like,
there's a place called Dandeli. If you go from Belgaum towards Bangalore, about 40-50 kilometers away from Belgaum, there's a place called as Kittur, Kittur. There's a
Kittur.
fort there. Yeah,
Okay.
Kittur. You just got to take a right turn and get into the Western Ghats called. There's a section called as Dandeli,
Dandeli.
Dandeli. Yeah.
Okay.
So went into Dandeli. I stayed in a place. I stayed in a tent next to a small stream, and that was very beautiful. And then I went through this. I went through a very like there was no road. It was like a mud path. I rode my bike through it, and I went into this Kali River. I crossed. There's a single there's a single bridge of about 400 meters long. It's called as the Shivpura Hanging Bridge.
Shivpura Hanging Bridge.
And
Yeah.
yeah, Shivpura Hanging Bridge. So I took my bike, I crossed across that bridge. It was a very narrow bridge of about just 1.5 feet long and 300 meters long probably. So I crossed it. I crossed it back again just to have fun. And I did that 3 times. And from there I went across to this place called as Satodi Falls.
Story.
Mesmerizing. Yeah, Satodi Falls. It's very close to Tripura Hanging Bridge. And then from
Damn.
there I went to, yeah. And from there I
Damn.
went to this place it's called as Sirsi, where you have like 1,000 shivlings built in
1,000 shivlings?
water bath. 1,000 shivlings carved from stones in this place called as Sirsi. And from there I got into Yellapur. From Yellapur I got into Goa. And from Goa I took the Amod Ghat back to Pune. So it lasted 4 days, 1,700 kilometers, and it was brilliant. It was just brilliant. These experiences kind of like take your mind through an environment. Of course, you got to be like free. You got to be like you got to be ready to do these things. If you don't come out of your shell of things, like you have a part of your mind that tells you, are you mad? Like staying next to a stream in an isolated place and stuff like that. You'll never do. Sometimes you got to be brave, and sometimes you got to be not normal. Like in a place Yellapur, there was a friend whose house I was staying in, and since I was staying in a tent, he delegated one of his servants to look after me in the night, because like I was the only person in that entire vicinity. So he made the guy stay there and all that, and I actually collected 3 stones. I placed in some sticks and stuff, and I made a fire, and I was carrying a pan, and I made Maggi noodles. And
Damn.
I sat and talked to him, and he shared. I gave him whatever I cooked to, and it was nice. It was nice to hear about him, his stuff like that. So life isn't just about, not just about me, myself, and things like that. Life is collective. It's all of us together, and if you can have a glimpse of everybody's life, see, everybody, like you have your eyes, and you can only see so much. There are billions of eyes all around, seeing things, experiencing things, and if you can get a glimpse of that and put it into your mind, you're different. You'll be different.
Damn. I might need to travel with you sometime. When I,
Yeah, yeah.
start biking and all, I will travel with you sometimes. Yeah, we're back. So you were telling me your travels again. So you mostly travel on bike, or do you take another vehicle as well, or you just like to travel on bike?
A bike is something that I prefer. But then I've done a lot of car trips also. I think I must have driven about 5 lakh kilometers through Maruti 800, through Baleno, through you name it.
5 lakh kilometers
So
through car.
5 lakh kilometers. I've
Damn.
driven abroad also.
You've driven
A lot of
abroad?
times. Yeah, the longest was from Miami to Washington in one day,
Okay.
and from Washington to New York the next morning.
Miami to Washington,
So,
Washington to
so
New York.
that was very interesting when I was driving. Like I had my friends who had come in from Moscow. We had landed in New York. We went all around, and then from Miami they took a flight back to Paris, and from Paris to Moscow, and the car was rented in New York. So I had to give it back in New York. So I started. I dropped them to the airport, and then I started driving all across, and then through rains and everything. I remember there was a small particle which hit the glass of my car, and my windscreen shattered. And
Damn.
then I had to change the car. Yeah, yeah. It was very interesting. So then I got a new car, and then I carried it across, and all the way I was like perfectly okay. And then at about 8 p.m. or something, when all the other cars, it was raining. Okay, it was raining. There was a lot of fog around and stuff like that. But 8 o'clock, when all the other cars, started to overtake me one after another, I realized that I should rest for the day. So then I parked into a motel and then slept off. The next morning, I started my journey again through the rains and got into New York in the afternoon. Spent time with my cousins, and from there we went to some place near somewhere up north.
How
So that
long
was a
was
very
this? How long was this car drive? Like, I get it. You drove at least one day. Was it a 2 day drive, or was it longer than that?
So it was about 1400 miles. So that's about almost about 1800 kilometers approximately.
That's a 2 day
And I think
drive.
2 day drive. Yeah. On the first day I did about 1200 kilometers, and then the balance of it the next day. I distances are approximate, but if you just check from Miami to Washington, New York, I think it comes to about 1800 kilometers approximately.
So
It's easy, man. It's easy.
it's hearing this is easy, but then again, if a person looks at it practically, it's not that. I mean, a man like me who can't even imagine to driving up to the nearest hotel, this is kind of a nightmare. I mean, you enjoyed it probably. If I start doing this, even I'll enjoy it. But damn, that's a long trip, and that also in abroad. This must have been hell of a
It,
journey, right?
it was beautiful. I still I still cherish those things. See, in life consists of these kinds of things that you do. Life is made up of pieces that you place across everywhere. This is one of those pieces. The good
Damn,
incidences, bad incidences, everything you place on that chart of yours, on the timeline. So that's what make everything. That's what
damn.
makes your life.
That was, I think, that's one of the biggest journey you've made. You've
The
completed
longest one, yeah.
the longest one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have
But
you?
the longest one was this 15-hour bike ride, and I did it with no, everybody would be like, oh, I'm going on a 1500-kilometer bike ride, and I need to, be able to sit there without hurting my butt and stuff like that, my back and things like that. But no, nothing, man. For me, the good thing about how I have oriented myself to behave is just get on and do it. Don't do too much of naughty. Don't do too much of time pass or stuff like that. Just go through it. If it feels to you, go through it.
Like,
And the energy is
if you think it's right, just do it without any hesitation.
if you think it's what you want to do, it's possible. Everything is possible. Everything is possible for a human mind. That's the beauty of having a human mind.
Have you been to ghats in Maharashtra, somewhere around Mahabaleshwar or somewhere else? I heard
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
created a school as well in Lonavala, right?
Yeah, it's a place called as Tungi. If you heard of Tungi Fort, if you know Ambi Valley,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Ambivali, yes,
okay.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
closer to that, about 30 kilometers away from Lonavala,
Yeah.
There used to be a small village called Tungi. There were this was in 96, 97 when I took the initiative of starting it. And then I was surrounded by villages of all kinds. Like if you, when you generally talk about a villager, it's unlike what you see in the cities. You see people who don't come out. They're very different. They're very simple. They have a very different kind of life and things like that. And I saw an incident and I did not like it. And that's how I spoke with the owners of the company that I used to work for. And she told me if I could do something, that'll be nice. And so that's how I said about it. So this place is in Tungi. The name of the school is Tunga Madhyamik Vidyalaya. It's a Marathi medium school. And when I started, it was a residential school. So children used to come from Monday morning and they used to go back home on Saturday afternoons.
Oh,
It was nice. It was nice. So please go ahead.
it must have been very amazing. You might have felt very good after creating a school for people, right? For children who are, who need education there. Or
See, the very part, when you wake up in the morning, you set out and start doing things, or probably even lazing, just sitting or sleeping on your couch is also doing something. So you do all kind of things. You can do all kind of things. For me, this appeal, and for me, was a guy who always kind of ventured out. Who I told you, 15 years when I used to sit and cry, I told myself, Bhaiya, I'm not going to be like this anymore. I'm going to put in a very different level of energy into my life. So when you put in a different energy with intent, things open up, things just unravel, and then you keep doing things again. You keep digging across. And yes, the school is still functioning, and today it has about 450 children. So I'm very happy about that. So from a time when I still remember these two kids. When I was talking to them, they were looking down at the ground, and I was like, "Arey, when you're talking to people, you should look at them in their faces." And then they just lifted their eyes like a little bit, and that was looking up for them. So from that stage, I got them into a state 2 years later where they would run up to you and say, "Good morning, how are you?" and things like that. So that was very
that's,
nice.
that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, so it's good. It's good.
So do you still visit that school? Like, do you still
I
go
do.
to that place?
I do. Yeah, I do.
People must
I
have
just pick up
been
my bike.
people must have been very appreciated about what you did. They might have been
Nice.
very happy. So
So
I
I
mean, when
went.
you do such kind of things, people around that place where you've done a good deed. I mean you've created a school in a village. So people in that place are they have a different thing now. They have a different thinking about outsiders. जनरली कैसा होता है देर आर मैनी विलेजेस जहाँ पे सिटीज़ वाले जाके कचरा करके आ जाते हैं दे डू some weird shit and they just destroy the whole beauty of the village. But then again, there are people like you who did something wonderful and created a mark in the heart of everybody in that village.
So what? Let me tell you something. When I go and do these things, all that you're talking about is just an effect. But for me, when I went out to do these things, it was more of a selfishness that I wanted to do something like this, or it was my conviction, it was my thinking process that was at work, and it wasn't like, oh, if I do these things, like like the cause and effect, and you do something good and people come and say, it was nothing of that sort. It was only because I okay, I'll tell you an experience. So I was going through a very bad phase of life in 2007, like I told you. And in Juhu, where I lived, I came across, when I was just coming back home, I came across this 75-year-old lady, fully white head, sitting on a pavement. She had a couple of plastic bags filled with other plastic bags and stuff. And she was holding out a plastic dish, a plastic container. And there was this lady in a Honda Accord who had just stopped, and she poured some food which contained, like, it looked like dal and rice all mixed together, and she poured it, and it left me aghast. I was like, man, Is this the kind of food and things like that? And that evening, I went out. So I was not actually looking at that babe, at that 75-year-old lady. It was more of like, if there's one thing I want to do is every evening before I eat my meal, I will make sure that I will give her a nice tiffin with the stuff that I'm going to eat, and I will give it to her before I eat my meal. So you got to if there's no point in like just saying, oh man, look what people are feeding her, or they do a difference. Just go out and do a difference. And for me, if it it kind of was appealing for me, then I might as well do something which I think needs to be right. It was not. It was. I would say there was one time I did this for about 3 years, Sarthak. And one of the evenings when I was out with my friends in Bandra, I remember it was about 10:30. I picked a small pizza, came across on my bike, stopped right next to her where she was sitting on the pavement at about 10:30. And I had not eaten as well. I just had a beer. And I sat next to her on the same pavement, opened up the pizza box, gave her half, and I ate half across. And all these cars passing across, So, somewhere across the entire experience, the entire episode gave me or instilled a sense of energy into me very different from what others would go through. So that was something. And rather than me saying, oh, look, I did help or something, I should thank her for being there and allowing me to do something like that to her. So she's more braver, she's more stronger. And it's not easy to just sit there and spend the rest of your life homeless, alone, don't know where your next meal is going to come from, and be at the whims and fancies of the environment.
Damn,
That is how I look at things.
many
If everything
people.
else,
I've seen many people who come across, even when you're looking at Instagram, ठीक है, take instance like Instagram पे आपको, you're scrolling through your feed, okay, your for you page, you see a video of a dog who needs medical treatment, ठीक है. Now there are two types of people, okay. One who take the initiative to donate something for the dog, okay, or visit them to help them, and there is the second thing, the second person who just be oh my god, oh shit, this dog is going through so
I,
much, oh damn, and then just scroll past and then look at memes and laugh at the next moment. So yeah,
yeah,
I personally don't want to be that second person. I want to be the first person. I want to help. Right now I am confined with financial things, confined in space. I still have to figure out things before helping someone out. Okay,
correct,
once I figure things out, I actually want to do this. I want to create something for animals. Okay, for instance, say cows and all. Because right now at the moment we're seeing a lot of cow slaughters, which is
correct.
just awful. You look at a creature, how, I mean, yeah, people do eat meat. I personally do love non-veg, but then again, at what extent are we going to stop killing animals, helpless animals? I mean, you can't force anybody to convert into a vegetarian, right?
Correct.
You can just आप एक बार बोलो उनको and they'll be like, हाँ ठीक है ना, चलना यार, अपना इधर का भाषण उधर थोप रहे है, छोड़ जाने दे. But then again, instead of telling them, you do it yourself.
Correct. No, you need to take initiatives, or you need to work on initiatives that are out of your mind and what appeals to you. You need to go out and do that. Everybody can't do the same thing as you're doing, but if you look out, if you just look around through the length and breadth of this country, there are lots of people doing lots of different kind of things which appeal to them. And together, it's just like a big chain of things that is happening across. So definitely you should, like I told you, you simply have an option of waking up in the morning and going through a regular life and build a big, beautiful house and a life for yourself. But at the end of it all, there's an exit. You got to go out. And then what's important when you go out is the drawing board, the paper where you stuck all these episodes, incidents of everything that you did. You got to do that. And if it appeals to you, please do it. You should go ahead.
Like, that's right, actually. If you think that someone out there, this might sound a bit different from the thing you're saying, but yeah, if you think that there is someone out there who might need your help, or you see someone who needs help, please do help them instead of just passing by and just reacting in a sad manner. Help them, and in any way you can. You can help them financially, you can help them mentally, you can provide them food. Just help them. Even a little act of kindness can change people around you, many people around you. You start doing a good deed. Once you start it, that will cause a chain reaction. चलो ठीक है, किसी का मन नहीं कर रहा, बट देन अगेन वो बात उसके ईगो पे तो जाएगी कि मतलब मैं अगर ये कर सकता तो मैं क्यों नहीं कर सकता, फिर वो भी करेंगे. उनके उस ईगो की वजह से अगर किसी की हेल्प हो रही है तो बेटर ही है ना वो, इंस्टेड ऑफ हिम बीइंग लाइक अरे ये कर रहा है छोड़ जाने दे. जस्ट डू समथिंग आउट देयर दैट कैन मेक द वर्ल्ड बेटर प्लेस. नाउ when I was speaking with you on WhatsApp, when we were chatting about this podcast, you sent me an image of that blue beeper in railway stations.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what's the story behind the blue beeper? Like, what's the big story behind the blue beeper?
Okay, so Mumbai has these local trains, right from Churchgate to Virar and Dahanu, and right from Mumbai VT to Karzat, Kasara, and from CST to Panvel. So every station, every local train, the 9 coaches or the 12 coaches, they have a designated handicap compartment. So blind people and handicap compartment are meant to travel in that train. And then again, there are these signboards on every station, every platform in Mumbai, all these railway stations. There are there's these handicap signboard, and inside that is a beeper which beeps every second, every 2 seconds it beeps. So when a person is blind, what that person does is, these days if you go to a platform, there are not many people who have time, or they're too busy in the rush. They kind of overlook people who would be wanting to be escorted to the platforms and things like that. So this particular person will walk across, listening to that beep, will walk across and stay right under it till a time when he can hear the beeper he or she can hear a beeper from just about his or her page. And then when the train comes, the handicap compartment is right in there, and the person can go in from right into the handicap. So I'll tell you how this actually came in. Was in about 2008-9. I was at Mahalakshmi station, and there were these 2 blind people. The train came in. I was waiting to get into my compartment and listening to music and all that. And from the corner of my eye, I noticed that there were these 2 people, a couple. One guy walking in front, and his wife or his friend, whatever, holding his shoulder and following him. So instead of getting into the handicap compartment, they were actually walking into the gap in between those 2 coaches. And the moment I saw it, I kind of just aborted everything, and impulsively I ran towards them. And just when the guy was just holding the compartment, was about to put his foot down, I caught hold of him. And he was scared, and then I kind of said, no, your compartment is here and stuff like that. I put him across. And then the train left. And then it made me, I was shocked. I mean, what if this person had just fallen? Like, if I would have fallen into the pit, somewhere across I would have tried to save myself because I can see, I can feel or something. But what is he going to do? Local trains just start very quickly, and within minutes it could be a mess. So I went to the station manager and told him about it, and he just patted my back and said, "Oh, thank you for helping." I said, "That's okay, but how do you help it out? How do you make sure these things don't happen again?" So he said, "वो तो ऊपर वाले के हाथ में." And I was like, "Okay, ठीक है." I got into the next train. I went home, and then in the evening when I was jogging across, I was on my jog. Suddenly an idea came in, like, hey, what if we can't see? At least we can hear. So why not have a beeper on the platform and one inside just the just the entry of the compartment? And then a person, it's difficult to make a mistake. So the next morning I went to Churchgate station. I met the station manager. He shooed me away. I went to the commercial manager. He shooed me away too. I went to the operations manager. He told me he couldn't help. And then finally there was a PRO, a railway PRO. And he said, "Oh, you have a very good idea. I can help you, but you need to do something." I said, "What?" He said, "You have to send me an email in writing, what the idea is and stuff." And then I did it, and about 3 months later, it started coming out. And 13, 14, 15 years later, it's still there on the platform, beeping around, beeping my existence completely.
So
the people have tweets named after them. I have
So,
beepers.
so is it like in just Mumbai, or is it like everywhere in India?
It's in every local train in Mumbai. I'm not aware of if it's there elsewhere also, but definitely in every railway platforms in Mumbai, local platforms in Mumbai.
Man,
There is.
that one email helped so many people. That's like,
Yeah.
dude, the idea behind the blue beeper is just wonderful. I still don't get it. Why hasn't anybody else thought about it? Why is like only one man thinking about everybody else? Like how cold people can be. Do you
You
think
know,
he
it's not like that. It's
like
not
I
like
mean
that. Everybody does.
see, this was a job that that Western Railway should have done long before. I mean, it's just a beeper. You can make a beeper. Even a child from a science lab can create a beeper and place it
You
anywhere.
know,
But
yeah.
why haven't they thought about it?
But
They
you
are
know,
conducting
that came
people
later.
thousand. Huh?
That came later. Like, putting in those beepers was just an idea. But something to inspire it was those two people about to fall, and it wanted a mind for it to come out. It wanted a mind who could who could see the pain and anguish it could cause, rather than like it needed these eyes and a heart which could see pain and anguish being caused by somebody else. Yes, I have eyes, I can see, but what's it if I can use it only for myself? Why not use it for them? Why not be their eyes and ears? So, like I told you, it's not just about one person, it's about all of us collectively. We have to look after us and we have to look after the collective of humanity. Of course, there are a lot of people started to do things, governments, institutions, and all that kind of stuff. But everybody does a lot of things, and everybody is very selfish and retarded.
Selfish,
Somewhere
man.
across,
Selfish. Selfish. People are selfish.
I wouldn't say that. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of selfish people do good things in their own ways. So it's everybody's calling. The universe uses everybody for everything. So as much as you and I are creating these things, Sarthak, there is some power out there using you to create a bigger picture for humans and for humanity, and of course for yourself.
You know,
So that's how.
the same way I thought about this podcast. The initial thought process was like, man, as you know, I'm very talkative. We've met like twice or thrice personally. We've spoken, and you've seen me also on the football court. I speak
Yeah.
a lot. That's one of the biggest issues with me. And many people say that it's not a good thing. But I thought, like, what if I can create it into something beautiful, something good, something educative for people? Interacting with people like you who've experienced such things, who've done such things, who've done such good deeds, and interacting with people who have experience of some genre that a person needs in their life. What if I can interact with them, I can interview them, I can have a good podcast, a good conversation with them, and learn myself a few things, and people who are watching this show or the episode can also learn a few things. That would also create some kind of impact, right? That would also educate some people, right? Because I've seen many people who need guidance. Now see, this is one guidance that you shouldn't be pay you shouldn't pay. Okay? This is free guidance. This is one thing that you're getting for free. You're getting knowledge for free. Okay, you're getting experience. You hearing things about experience. You're hearing things about how you should do good in this world. That's one thing that podcast will teach you. Not just my podcast. There are many other podcasts that you can watch. I did tell you about Ranveer Alavadia's podcast, right?
Okay.
Through his podcast, I learned a lot about mythology, a lot, and I would say it's not mythology, it's ancient history, because
Yeah.
whatever happened at that age, at that era, we have proof of it. My history teacher, when I was in ninth, my history teacher used to put it very beautifully. She used to break down these two words. She used to say his story. So that's history.
Okay.
That is a person's past story. What we're doing right now is our history. That's right.
Yeah.
Either if you do something that many people will remember, like you did, people will talk about you. They will make their children hear about your story. That's history. that will create a good impact, that will teach them about something. So yeah, that's one beautiful thing about podcasts. Coming back to podcasts, do you believe in paranormal, or you do believe in
Uh,
ghosts? So do you believe in ghosts?
uh, Frankly, I love ghosts. Okay,
Okay.
I
Have
would
you
not hesitate to converse with them.
conversed with them? Damn.
Yeah, yeah, why not?
I wanted
Why
to
not? Please,
ask
why
you.
not?
I wanted to ask you. Have you ever had a paranormal experience, or something that terrified you some way?
I don't know about being terrified, but yes, I lived in Lonavala when I was working on this project, which included the school. I was living in a place called as Tungi in the middle of nowhere, and I had not a single person living around 500 meters around me. And there was this nice, beautiful two rooms. It was like a hotel room and a kitchen next to it. I had to come out and that's how it was. And I lived there all alone. You never see people out after 6:37, a single person outside. And at 6:30, 7 o'clock, I would take a bath, come out and sit on the veranda with the lights on, and I'd be the only person out there reading a newspaper, reading through things, or listening to music and something like that. And everything around it was all dark. There were leopards in that place, so all kind of things. There were snakes. I've got a couple of snakes in my hand, but yeah, all that happens. But there were a lot of things that kept happening and stuff like that. Yeah, so ghosts and all is fine. If I get an opportunity to talk to them, I'll do that. I'll tell you an incident, okay? So I was driving from Mumbai to Pune on a weekend, and I thought I should stop at Lonavala and meet this 80-year-old colonel. He was a friend for a very long time. So I just went into Lonavala. His bungalow was next to Tata Dam. I went across, and the house was dark. There were no lights in it. So I asked the guy in the hotel in the security, and apparently he said that he had just died 2 months ago, and it was a sad news. But then obviously, I was there, so I had to at least visit his graves and place a bunch of white gladiolas. So I went to the market and I came back to the graveyard, which was just opposite Rywood Park, if you know Lonavala. It's a very dark, eerie kind of a place. You have these huge, big trees and stuff like that.
After
And the
seven,
graveyard was
the whole path of Lonavala is a bit eerie. The whole When I was
yeah,
in Mahabaleshwar, we used to my father and I na, my father and
yes,
I used to think that we used to stay in resorts, but
yes,
the food that we used to get there was not so good. So we used to think, let's go out and eat. And then when
right,
we used to step out now, and the worst thing is we used to visit Mahabaleshwar and these ghats during monsoon. Now there are two issues with this. एक तो घाट्स पे अंधेरा जल्दी हो जाता है, दूसरा मॉनसून के टाइम पे इट्स लाइक फॉग भरी होती है वहाँ पे, ठीक है, लाइक
correct.
दिस थिक लेयर ऑफ फॉग, और दिखता कुछ भी नहीं है अंधेरे में. सो या वी यूज टू बी वेरी नॉट हिम दो, आई यूज टू बी वेरी स्कैर्ड कि पता नहीं कहाँ से कोई भूत अभी उछल के एकदम से गाड़ी के शीशे पे आके लटक जाएगा. सो आई यूज टू बी वेरी
That's
स्कैर्ड
true,
ड्यूरिंग
right?
दैट टाइम. I used to be
That's
very
fun.
scared, man. I used to be very scared. I
I would love to
still
have
am.
this experience.
You
Okay.
would love to have this experience. I
Yeah.
don't want to have this experience. Whenever I visit Mahabaleshwar, I just pray कि यार हम लोग रात को होटल से बाहर ना निकले बस अपने. मैं इतना ही
Correct.
सोचता हूँ कि भाई कुछ भी चलेगा, किसी भी तरह का खाना चलेगा, बाहर नहीं जाना भाई अभी अब मेरे को. I
But
have
you're
this.
talking about 7 p.m. I'm talking of a time it was 9 p.m. and I went across to this graveyard, and I just parked the car on the road and I walked about 100 meters,
Uh,
and the iron gate was locked. There was a big lock on it. So I was like, oh, now how do I get into it? So the wall was just about 4.5, 5 feet tall. I took the bunch of glads and I kind of jumped over the wall into the graveyard, and suddenly all I could see around is darkness, and with these crosses out and stuff like that. And you know what I did? I was like, Abhi, ab now how do I find this grave? There's so many, how do I find where it is and stuff like that? So I took out my BlackBerry and I walked across, looked at every cross, what's the name written on it and all that kind of stuff. And finally I came across Colonel Dalton. I placed the bunch of glads on his graveyard, paid my respects for a couple of minutes, got out, jumped out, and I came back. But the ghosts were probably caught off guard and they simply stayed away.
इतना करेज मेरे पास होता तो मैं क्या क्या कर लेता. मतलब यू वेंट इनटू अ ग्रेवयार्ड अराउंड 9 to 8 p.m. between 9 to 8 p.m. अच्छा यू वेंट एट 9 p.m. और इतने अंधेरे में ग्रेवयार्ड में फन.
There's a graveyard just next to St. Patrick's Church. चल रहा है?
नहीं, नो थैंक यू, नो 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 नो, नहीं बाबा नहीं. बचपन से हॉरर मूवीज देख देख के एक तो मेरा दिमाग खराब हुआ पड़ा है. व्हेन आई वाज लिटिल ना, आई यूज्ड टू वॉच दिस मूवी नोन एज जानी दुश्मन. इट्स अ वेरी ओल्ड मूवी. सो देयर वाज दिस कैरेक्टर, दिस मॉन्स्टर और गोस्ट इन द मूवी हु यूज्ड टू लुक लाइक अ बेयर. ठीक है, ब्राउन बाल थे उसके पूरे पूरे. आई यूज्ड टू बी शिट स्कैर्ड ऑफ हिम. Shit. And I'm telling you, now that I look at this movie ना, I'm like, मैं इससे डरता था. I was scared of this. And you won't believe, because of that one ghost, I've irritated my mother so much ना. I was like, मम्मी brown ball वाला भूत, मम्मी इधर brown ball वाला भूत, मम्मी brown ball वाला भूत. I was like, nah, man. Mom was like, nah, there is no brown ball वाला भूत. She was like, just shut up and go to the washroom, man. Just don't bug me right now.
Interesting.
That was interesting.
But that's
man.
just a phase, man. That's just a phase.
But that's just a phase. I hope this phase ends really soon. I mean, right now I'm scared of darkness. Okay, whenever I walk into a dark room.
Hello, I give you.
नहीं. वो अंधेरा अलग है. बंद कमरे का अंधेरा अलग होता है. एक ग्रेवयार्ड का अंधेरा अलग होता है. मैं ग्रेवयार्ड नहीं जा रहा. मैं बिल्कुल नहीं जाऊंगा. अगर किसी दिन मतलब इतना मेरे को जोश चढ़ा ना कि आज जाएंगे, I'll call you अंकल चलो ग्रेवयार्ड होके आते हैं. लाइक अभी तो नहीं, अभी तो बिल्कुल नहीं. अभी रिसेंटली I saw this movie. Which movie was it? There was this horror movie that I recently saw, The Pope's Exorcist. ठीक है. Again, one of the most horrifying movies I've ever seen. उसके पहले I saw Hereditary, and I do recommend you watching Hereditary because it's a very very horrifying movie. Very horrifying movie. I'm telling you, आपने उसकी जितनी डरावनी मूवी कभी नहीं देखी होगी.
Alright.
So yeah, here we are at the end of our session. I thank you so much, Melvin uncle. We did this podcast, and we will surely record again. हमारा ये सेशन अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ है, बट जस्ट बिकॉज हम लोग एक डेढ़ घंटा रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हैं. अभी के लिए बस इतना ही. अभी मेरे पास और भी क्वेश्चंस हैं आपसे जो मैं नेक्स्ट सेशन में कभी पूछूंगा. ठीक है, आई हैव प्रिपेयर्ड माई क्वेश्चंस एंड नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन वी मीट आई नॉट बी नर्वस. अभी क्या हुआ ना, ये सेशन काफ़ी टाइम बाद मतलब कोई वीडियो काफ़ी टाइम बाद रिकॉर्ड कर रहा था तो आई वॉज वेरी नर्वस. बट या, थैंक्स फॉर जॉइनिंग अस ऑन दिस पॉडकास्ट. Yes.
Just before, apart from a big thank you for having me on your podcast.
My pleasure, uncle. My pleasure.
More than that, Sarthak, I've seen you for many years. I've seen you for many years. Okay, and you're very natural at this. You're very good at this, and I've seen a lot of things, and I see talent in you. Use this across.
Thank you so much. I will. I'll create more podcasts because this is one thing I naturally feel I can do. Apart from tattoos, I naturally feel this that मैं podcast बहुत आराम से कर सकता हूँ. Having a good conversation with an intellectual person is both good for me and my audience because अभी तक तो I've been going through some changes and I hope these changes turn me into a better person. So yeah, I'm just waiting to upload more and more of these podcasts, meet more intellectual people, and which we will on the next episode. I already have a guest for the next episode, and I'll meet you with our next guest. And yeah, आज के लिए मतलब बस इतना ही. ठीक है, this was way too much fun. ठीक है, and frankly speaking, one of the best experiences I've ever had recording. ठीक है, uncle. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your guidance and your just you appearing on my podcast and having a good conversation with you. Is there anything on a leaving note that you want to tell the audience?
Yes, sure. So as a human being or as humans, we are creators. We create realities for our lives. for lives of those around us, and for the universe. Obviously, we can either be the God, and if not, the devil of our own lives. The nature and aura of what we create with our awareness will allow us as humans to create our own unique timeline of conscious experiences, and consequently our own unique purpose and destiny, both within and beyond the realms of this physical universe. Remember that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarthak.
Thank you so much, Melvin Uncle. And I'll meet you guys on the next episode of The Known and the Unknown with Sarthak. Thank you, Melvin Uncle, for joining us on this podcast. It was a wonderful experience, and we will surely record some other day as well. So, yeah, this was the very first podcast that we had with Mr. Melvin D'souza, but surely we will invite him on another session and we will do another podcast with him. बट आज के लिए बस इतना ही, एंड आई रियली होप आप लोगों को ये अच्छा लगा होगा एपिसोड. ये मेरा पहली बार था पॉडकास्ट बनाने के लिए, तो आई वॉज वेरी नर्वस. आई मिक्सड अप अ लॉट ऑफ वर्ड्स. आई कुडंट आस्क हिम मच क्वेश्चंस. आई कुडंट हैव अ लॉट मोर ऑफ अ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद हिम, बट नेक्स्ट टाइम विल श्योरली डू सो. तब तक के लिए बस इतना ही. अगर वीडियो अच्छा लगा हो तो लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब करना, ठीक है. बेल आइकन को दबाना मत भूलना, और इस वीडियो को जितना शेयर हो सके अपने लोगों, अपने फैमिली वालों के साथ, अपने मेंबर्स के साथ, अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ, अपने क्लासमेट्स के साथ, जिसके साथ भी शेयर कर सकते हो करो. एंड या, आई विल मीट यू ऑन अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द नोन एंड द अननोन विद सार्थक. तब तक के लिए बाय, गुड नाइट, शब्बा खैर, शुभ रात्रि. जाके सो जाइए. मुझे भी नींद आ रही है, मुझे भूख भी लग रही है, तो मैं जा रहा हूँ. Bye.